I'm Katie Bennett-Stenton, a dual Australian US citizen and the National Marketing Lead for Energy Resources and Industrials with Deloitte in Australia. I'm fortunate to be spending two exciting months in our Chicago office while I put my kids into school and finalise their US citizenship. I'm really delighted to have the opportunity to spend time with a number of our global experts, thinkers and leaders. As I'm immersing myself in a different culture within a much larger team, I'm excited about the insights and learnings. Throughout this time, I'm speaking to different leaders and sharing thought-provoking, relevant and influential takeaways. Today, I'm really excited to be speaking with Diana O'Brien. Diana is the Deloitte US Chief Marketing Officer, and if that's not a big enough role, she's also the Deloitte Global Chief Marketing Officer. Diana, great to speak to you today.
Oh, Katie, it's great to be here. Thanks.
Thank you. Diana, I wonder if, before we get into the questions, whether you'd be able to just give us a very brief overview about your interesting career and background, please.
Of course. I have been with the firm since 1985, with a small time away when I had my children. And I've done so many different things. I started as a healthcare consultant and spent a good part of my time in the provider space and then a number of years in the life sciences space. I ultimately was a client leader for several of our life science clients and ultimately took over the life sciences portfolio. But after I had done that and I felt like I had achieved the pinnacle, I was asked to take on an opportunity to lead Deloitte University, which was one of the most extraordinary experiences of my career. And that just led to, again, another great opportunity, which allowed me to sit on our U.S. executive and have responsibility for all of our marketing, sales, demand, gen activities, and all of our client leaders. I also had an opportunity to then step into the global client leader role. And that was also one of the most interesting experiences because it really took me outside the U.S. and exposed me to things that I just hadn't had a chance to really dig deep in other than with individual clients. And then from there, I went into the U.S. marketing position and ultimately this past January, the global marketing position.
It's an incredibly interesting background, Diana. I'm really interested to explore how your life and career has improved as a result of being better connected with people across the globe.
Yeah, that's what I really wish we could get earlier into people's careers. For me, it happened obviously after I was a partner. I wish I'd had more opportunities to engage around the world with our clients and our colleagues sooner, because for me, it really strengthened my own perspective and empathy and, quite honestly, ability to listen more deeply. I think we're always so busy rushing. We can easily fall into multitasking, and we're not listening in the same way that we need to. When you travel, particularly when you're going and you're engaging with colleagues where English is not their first language, it is really my responsibility in that particular case to listen deeply when they're working to speak in my language as a courtesy to me. And so it builds on my empathy, it builds on my ability to know them as a person because I'm listening really deeply. And so I think that it's helped me to have stronger relationships, even in the U.S., because it strengthened my ability to really listen and want to see it from their point of view and understand.
That's a really interesting perspective. I mean, I think there are so many benefits to working across different cultures, but that's one I probably hadn't thought about. I think that's incredibly interesting. Diana, I'm interested to know whether you've been to Australia and if you have, or even I know that you connect with a number of people who work with the Australian firm and are from the country. What's the one thing you'd like to know a little bit better or better understand about the country?
I haven't traveled there yet. I am traveling there in June of this coming year.
Okay.
But I was on the phone with them last night at 10 o'clock p.m. on a Sunday because that was the start of their day.
Sure.
So I certainly do talk to them and engage with them and know them and have met them. And I think that the Australian firm has so many terrific leaders. I'm impressed with them every day by their creativity, their thoughtfulness, their client-centered mindset. And they're going through such a big change right now, really becoming a more integrated region so that they can share talent across boundaries much more easily. And I just think it's going to be terrific for everyone. What I most want to do when I get there, though, honestly, is take in the beauty, the natural beauty. And I had a chance to be in Cannes this year when our team presented for one of the awards related to the Great Barrier Reef. And
yes.
I literally was crying as I watched it. And I thought, I cannot wait to really just be there to take it in.
Fantastic. So will a trip to the Great Barrier Reef be on the cards if you're able to squeeze it in between meetings?
Yes.
Well, you'll know all about it from an economic perspective and what it adds to the country as well.
That's right.
Oh, fantastic. I love it. Diana, would you say that you learn more from failure or success?
I think I actually learn a lot from both, and that's because in my household growing up, no matter what you did, you could have done your very best. In my household, there were people, my parents in particular, but my siblings certainly have taken up the mantle who would be like, that was good, but you could have done this and this. And so we were always, adding to what was the opportunity to learn from whatever the experience was. And so I don't get too disappointed in my failures, and I don't get too excited about my successes, because in both there's really something to take away.
That's an interesting perspective. I like the idea from it being instilled from a young age.
Yeah.
Are there any significant challenges that you've navigated in your career that you've drawn particular strength from, or insights that you'd like to share, Diana?
Katie, for me, absolutely, and I would say I've had lots of them, big challenges, little challenges, things that were really difficult to navigate through. For me, the most significant was when my children were diagnosed with autism. I was not yet a partner. It was the year that I was up for becoming a partner, and they were diagnosed, and I simply thought I couldn't go on. I thought I was going to have to leave my career, and I really understood what it was to be a partner then, because the partners around me, my teammates around me, all rallied and said, nope, you're going to go, you're going to sign your papers, you're going to be a partner. You can figure it out later if you need to leave, but right now you're going to make it, and we're going to let you take the leave. And, work-life balance wasn't quite as embraced as it is today, and letting people take leaves of absence wasn't as easily understood, but they just rallied behind me and allowed me to have that opportunity. And that really changed my sense of partnership and my indebtedness to the people that stood with me in what was one of the worst moments of my own life, and they let me continue. And I wouldn't have had the great career that I have if it not for them. So I think back on that, and I share with others that being a partner is so much more than sharing in the economics of and profits of our firm. It's really being part of something where people stand with you and they stand for you, and they do that in the moments that you have great success, and they do that in the moments that you are in great need, and that's really special.
That's an incredibly special story. I read the blog that you wrote about that, and I imagine that must have influenced the way that you embrace and look after and support the team around you, having had that experience.
I hope it does. I mean, I was able to take advantage of so many different flexible arrangements. I think I've brought some creativity to others as they've looked to navigate different experiences in their life. whether it was, mental health illnesses or family challenges or elderly parents having babies, whatever. I hope I've helped people navigate those and still have a really meaningful career to be part of. And I think just knowing you're not alone, that is such a great aspect. I know the gig economy is growing and people want to be out in the entrepreneurial world, but there's something to be said for being part of an enterprise where you have teammates there with you along your life journey.
Oh, there is, and having spoken to some of the people in your direct team, they've talked quite extensively about how important it is for you to nurture and build a sense of team. So my impression from talking to them was that had made quite a profound difference on you.
Yeah.
Diana, in your opening, you talked about establishing Deloitte University in 2008 and that you went on to open and lead it. Tell me a bit more about that experience and how it has impacted how you lead, please.
Well, the first thing I'd say is I think that attending Deloitte University at any time, whether you're a guest or an instructor or me when I first was part of it, it's all special, and it will affect your ability to lead. It will make you a stronger leader. So it was a great privilege. I'm not really sure why I had the opportunity, but I did, and I'm so deeply grateful for the people I got to work with, the opportunity to learn and grow, and create what was, for me, probably the biggest opportunity to define world-class experience. That's what I wanted. I wanted everyone who showed up at that door to have a world-class experience, and I believe we created that, and I believe the team has sustained it. It's just a special place where everyone has an opportunity at any moment to lead if they have something to offer, and everyone at every moment has something to learn if they're willing to listen and open their hearts and their minds to what's happening and available there. And the environment itself is conducive to it. The way the whole facility was created and the people who spent hours designing it helped to create that. But it's also, when you're there and you feel that energy, I just know no one who's not changed by being there. And I think you're changed because you realize you have the opportunity to lead and you have the opportunity to learn at any moment in your life.
It sounds fantastic. Do you get back there very often?
I do, and when I do, honestly, it's feels like I'm coming home or something, and coming to, the best place of your, that you remember with the fondest memories.
It sounds fantastic. What would you say has been the biggest turning point in your career, Diana?
I think stepping out from my mentors, I had a lot early in my career, and they were wonderful, fantastic leaders. I had one that I was with for a number of years on one account, and I knew that I just wasn't growing and learning in the same way that I wanted to. I had been there a long time. I was bored, and I went to other leaders and said, I just need a new opportunity. This isn't enough for me. And if I don't get one, I really do think I need to leave. And it had been this fabulous opportunity, so there was nothing wrong with what I had been given, but I knew that I wasn't growing anymore. And so I did that, and that then resulted, quite honestly, in one of the biggest cascades of opportunities that happened. I took on life sciences. I got another account. I ultimately got DU. I took on succession. I had a number of things that came my way, and I think none of that would have happened if I had chosen to stay in the place that felt most familiar and was fairly easy to do.
And I think having that confidence to take risks and put your hands up like that is very consistent theme from each of the people I've spoken to over the previous podcasts, and certainly a big takeaway from me from all of the leaders I've spoken to thus far.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, and will impact what I'm doing when I get home. Diana, what would you say that nirvana in your career looks like?
I think nirvana for me is creating the space, the environment, the experiences that allow the people, our clients, anyone in the community that we're interacting with, to thrive, to be better than they were the day before, to find something new in themselves. That's if I feel I'm participating in that, I feel I'm living my purpose.
And that's a delightful response, but I mean, it's also I also reflect that it's more about other people rather than specifically what you are focused on.
I would say that's true. Now, I will say that one thing that's changed for me is that for a long time, I had sort of crafted my own mission statement, and I knew what I wanted, and it was what I was just describing about creating an environment for people to thrive. But I came to realize about the time that our firm started focusing on well-being that I never put myself in that equation, and as a result, I wasn't as healthy as I needed to be.
Okay.
And so that was an important shift, that I need to create environments and experiences for people to thrive, but that includes me. Like, I need that too. And that was a huge aha for me as we as a U.S. organization really stepped into the well-being space and recognized what people need to do to stay healthy, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, to keep your life at solid grounding.
And are you happier that you have a little more focus on looking after yourself in that equation now?
Yeah, I actually just added that little part to it, which said including me, and that really helped. It allowed for me to make more space for that to happen. And sometimes it actually happens with others. Like, it was a joint. It might be going to the gym with someone, or enjoying, a show with someone that are people that these are things I knew they liked, and they're also good for me. So
yeah. I like it. So there's much talk about work-life balance, and I tend personally to think more about having a balanced life. What does a balanced life mean for you, Diana?
Well, first, I love your term, balanced life. I think that's a better way of saying it. Mine is pretty simple. I think, one, that you need people to love, and people to love, happy, healthy families, friends, colleagues, whatever.
Yes.
I think you need something important to do, and that can be anything, really, as long as you know you're making an impact, something where you can make a difference, that your work is valued, whatever that is, and that can be in your community, it can be in your home, it can be in a job. I think you need to have a grateful, sort of forgiving, if you will, heart. But I added well to that. Like, think you need to be well. You need a grateful and forgiving, well heart and mind, because I do think that lots of things happen. I mean, the world, there's so many difficult moments in life, and you need to be able. You need resilience to get through that, and I think you get resilience by through gratefulness and through forgiveness. And so I think you have to be centered with those two attributes. So if you have people to love, and you have something important where you can make an impact, and you have a sort of grateful, forgiving heart, I think you'll live a balanced life.
Nicely put. I like that. Diana, you're known for being passionate about creating environments where teams have a sense of belonging, and we talked a little bit about this before, but I'd like to understand just in a little bit more detail why that's so important to you.
Well, again, we as a firm, I think, have done a really nice job of focusing on diversity and inclusion, and diversity meaning that we want people that have lots of differences at the table. Inclusion meaning you're all invited to the table, but belonging is that you feel like you're there so that your best can come forward. And so when I say it's diversity, inclusion, and belonging, they all go together. And that belonging part is simply that if I feel I belong, then all my best, my unique skills and experiences, the things I am bringing from my culture, or how I grew up, I can bring that to bear to everyone else and share those perspectives and talents, and I have the confidence to do so, and that's when real power happens.
Mm-hmm. And are we getting better at doing that as a firm?
Yeah, I think we are. I mean, I don't think we've cracked the nut on it, but I think that we are tapping into how to be an inclusive leader And when we think about what an inclusive leader looks like, it is someone that, takes time to help people feel like they belong. They don't just invite them. They don't just, hire them, but they invite them to be part of it. And then they help them to have the confidence to feel good about sharing what they have to offer.
Thank you. Is there any one thing that you'd change about the business environment of today, Diana?
I think we should just be more kind. I think all of us should be more kind to one another. I think kindness and bravery are two really important attributes in business, and I don't see enough of either.
Amen. Well, we could talk about that all day.
Yeah, we could.
Oh yeah. So Diana, you talked about your kids earlier, and I'd really like to return to them briefly. And again, I think this is probably a topic that we could talk about all day. But what are the things that you've learned the most from being a parent?
I've learned that I have to be willing to grow and change for them, because they're teaching me. I think that I thought, I'm going to teach them. I'm going to, I'll guide them in the ways of the world. And, I hope I've shared something of worth to them. But honestly, I think they changed me. They guided me. They helped me to grow further and deeper than I imagined I would. And I went to places I didn't know that I could because of them. And that's an incredible gift.
Absolutely. And from them to you. Diana, you wrote a great blog last year, and in it you said that it only takes one person to break a boundary, and only one first to forge a path for others. And that really resonated with me. I'm interested in a couple of things. Firstly, how this belief has influenced your parenting.
Well, the first thing I'd say is that in the beginning, I did limit my children's baby growth, because I didn't have high enough expectations. I listened to what doctors or therapists might have told me about what they could achieve, or what might happen to them. And while I didn't want to, it was still in the back of my mind. Well, the doctor said, and I just, again, they taught me that I should not limit them with my low expectations. I should believe that anything's possible that they want to make happen, and that they'll find ways for the things where they're most passionate. And that's absolutely been true. So I think not limiting others by putting them in a box, just because you grew up a certain way, or you have certain things, or you went to certain schools, it doesn't mean that you can achieve everything that you want. So not limiting others is really fundamental to not just how I'm a parent, but how I think about the environment where I'm coaching and mentoring others within Deloitte.
Sure. And the question that I was going to ask in follow-up was how it's influenced your role at Deloitte. Is there anything that you'd add on that front? I mean, what you've talked about in terms of it influencing your parenting skills ties in superbly to Deloitte, I would have thought, but would you add anything on that front?
Well, I just think, the exact same thing was the case when I was mentoring, right? I would start early in my career. I was mentoring people thinking I knew what was best for them, and so they should do this or that. And I have come to appreciate that that's not the best way to actually mentor someone. It's really to help them discover their best. It's to ask them questions, not tell them what to do. Sure. I think if you can ask questions that allow for options, and people can see possibilities as a result of talking to you, that makes more of their growth possible. And but telling people doesn't help them in the way that helping them discover it does.
Sure. Diana, I'm so appreciative of your time today. Just in closing, is there anything final that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I would just come back to, I think we just need more kindness and bravery in work. And if we all thought about that, gosh, the world would be a better place.
It absolutely would. Diana O'Brien, thank you so much for your time today. I'm really grateful.
Thank you.